Danny Loggins. Here. Michelle Venus.
Here.
Jason Ragland.
Here.
Ronald Ragland. Ronald Ragland. Cindy Silent.
Here.
Andy Treat.
Here.
Rick Watts.
Here.
Wayne Witcher.
Here.
Legal quorum is present.
Andy, please. Father in heaven, we come to you tonight, Lord, and we just thank you for your goodness, your mercy, your grace, your love that you have for us. We just ask you into this place tonight, Lord. I ask you to lead us and guide us in the decisions that we make here. And God, we just want to do the best job that we can for the citizens of Searcy County. And God, just lay on our hearts tonight. Make it plain to us which way we should vote on these things that come to our attention tonight. Yes. And Lord, we just want to give you praise and honor. And we just thank you for your son, Jesus. All these things I ask in his name. Amen. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Also, we need to keep all of our comments at the beginning of the meeting.
Can't hear you.
Be recognized by one of the Quorum court members. We'll go to whole business first. Paper ballot committee report.
Well, I guess I'll start this off. You all asked us to form committee, appoint us to come with some facts and figures on the difference between the paper ballots and the machines. We did. And I'm going to introduce this lady. She's the chairman of the Election Commission. I guess I should introduce myself. I figure most of y'all know. O.C. Ratchford, Election Commissioner, also on the committee. This is Ms. Laura Gross, and she's went in depth. We all have had several meetings to get the facts on what you all were discussing. We all need to make a decision whether to continue with basically a failed experiment, the voting machines, or go ahead and go back to what we know works, paper ballots. And so, Ms. Gross, you got it.
Thanks, LC. I want to tell you guys, I really appreciate the time that you spent looking at this topic. It's been going on a long time, and hopefully tonight we can make a decision. LC and I, as you know, we're here to pretty vigorously encourage you to go to paper ballots. And when we do that, we represent several groups. First of all, we represent your election commission. We're the ones who are responsible for making sure that our elections have integrity and are quality elections. And we take that job very seriously. And we do not consider it a light thing to recommend changing the way that we do elections. Because after all, at the end of the day, the buck stops with the commission. Whatever happens with the election, we have to make sure that it works. The two of us also represent your county Republican committee and your county Democrat committee. That doesn't always happen. And I love the fact that there's a bipartisan effort in this county. And I believe one of the reasons we have a bipartisan effort with this particular topic is because the people of this county really care about how things are done in this county. They're the people who live here, work here, raise their families, and it matters to them. We also represent the committee that you guys appointed to do the research to look into this topic. And I want you to know that we have taken that research very seriously. You told us at the beginning that you were concerned about the cost of changing to hand-counted paper ballots. After all, you guys are responsible for the county budget. It's an important job. I know you guys take that very seriously. You told us when you commissioned us, you wanted us to get the facts. You wanted us to do the research, to cut through all the opinion, to cut through all the emotions, to cut through just what people thought, and you said, bring us the facts that you can. And we did what you asked. You guys have seen the report. It's fairly thick. I apologize for that. When we went to do the research as a committee, we agreed that we would set aside our personal ideas and our personal thoughts about what, how we felt about it, and just look at the numbers that we could find. And we spent a lot of time attempting to give you, in that report, a realistic idea and understanding of what would happen if we stay with our current method of voting, electronic voting machines, or if we change and go to paper ballots. So we demonstrated to you in our report, first of all, that paper ballots will not cost considerably more. You've seen the numbers on your report. In fact, what we actually learned is, in terms of the actual money that it costs for the election, next year we'll probably just about break even, spending about what we did last election. In other words, the added cost of printing the paper ballots and paying people to count the votes will be offset by places where we can save money. We tried to show you that in the report. It's not a big savings, not like it should be, but we've had a lot of choices taken away from us. So we're being forced to pay things, some expenses that we really shouldn't have to pay, and some of the choices of saving in certain areas have been refused us. We also looked at the bigger picture, because as we began to delve into the numbers, we began to realize that there are a lot of hidden costs. It's easy to say, what's payroll, what do we pay ES&S? But the hidden costs have so much to do with the machines that we have to purchase ever so many years, and we talked about that, so I'm not going to go into it unless you have more questions. I have to tell you, we were very surprised at how much that hidden cost represented in our elections, and we determined that if you guys decide to go to paper ballots, we will save, as a county, about $40,000 next year alone, and more money as we move on with paper ballots. I understand that you guys have been hearing some negative predictions from individuals and organizations about what might happen if we go to paper ballots, and I want to answer some of those assertions very quickly. I know that some people have said that paper ballots are going to cost a whole lot more than we're currently spending. And I have to tell you, I want to challenge them to prove that. We have looked at the numbers. We did a deep dive into the numbers. They're black and white in your report. I'd like to ask them to show you the numbers to support their claims that it's going to cost that much more. They won't do it. They want to, I don't know what they want to do. I'm not even going to go there. But I believe that they won't support the numbers because they can't. They won't support their claims because the numbers are simply not there. We actually invited them to our town hall to explain why they're so against paper ballots, what makes paper ballots such a bad idea, and they wouldn't come. I personally asked some of my contacts down in Little Rock, please explain to me. I want to understand the full picture of this. If you've got a problem with paper ballots, I'm a commissioner. I need to know, what are your concerns? No one would explain it to me. They just said, this and this and this. They're going to cost more, they're going to be a problem, they're not secure. Prove it to me. That's what I asked, and they couldn't do it. Also, outside influencers have been saying, they've been talking to some of our poll workers, that if we go to paper ballots, we will essentially be running like side-by-side elections. So it'll cost more because we're running 2 elections at once, and it'll take a lot more effort on their part. I just want to respectfully say that that is not true. I don't know if you guys remember, but in 2020, this county ran an election with electronic voting machines and with paper ballots. It didn't cost more then, and it's not going to cost more now. It didn't take more effort then, or more work then, and it's not going to take more effort or more work now. Did you guys know that Little Rock uses paper ballots for their election? I just found that out a few days ago. They use the voting machines in their primaries, but on their election day, Little Rock uses paper ballots. Just interesting fact. In addition to finances, and equally if not more important, is the topic of security. And we looked at that as well. We've shown you, I believe, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that electronic voting machines are not secure. We're not saying that they have that elections have been stolen, we're not saying that. But we presented to you just a mere sampling of articles that detail the findings of peer-reviewed, published research that says, that's not theory by the way, from institutions like Princeton and Harvard that demonstrate the dangers of voting machines because they can be hacked. They actually proved that anyone who can get close to the machine can change the voting outcome of electronic voting machines. I know you guys are in a tough position tonight. I know you've had a lot of calls both ways. I know you've had a lot of pressure both ways. Sorry that you're in that position. Believe me, we've had the calls and the pressure too. But I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you that the numbers, the facts that we presented you in the report, it's not opinion. It's researched. It's real, and you can count on it. So respectfully, Elsie and I, having discussed this at length as your election commissioners, representing both your county political committees, representing the committee you appointed to do this research, we'd like to ask you to pass the resolution to go to hand-counted paper ballots for Searcy County elections. Any questions, I'll be glad to.
Judge, I move that we open a discussion among the JPs, both asking questions and also comments from the JPs. Would that be good with you, sir?
Yeah, I was reading your report. It says you created this, is that correct? This report. It's true that we will still be forced to purchase most of the ES&S services we currently use.
Where are you reading,
We're
Andy?
talking about,
Excuse me, where are you reading, Andy?
I'm sorry, it's, the report. About next to the last page, I think it is, section. I'm not good with Roman numerals. 5B,
Final point.
B. Toward the end of that,
Okay.
I know there's a lot of people that are not, really, I guess the word would be, secure with the machines. They think that they're gonna be, the election's gonna be stolen or whatever. But, I think one of the things that we did, and I'll point this out for us at fault, and I understand why we did it, but, we didn't put the clerk's office in there when, we were gathering facts. They have a lot to do with election. I called the office kinda after the fact, and they've got a process that they go through with these machines to verify that the machine is counting everything right. Yes, we can't read the code on those things. But there's a process, a cartridge, I think, you put in it that's not connected to the internet. So, you know, to verify that the machine is counting correctly, you put it in before and after, is that correct, Cassie?
Just before.
Just before, okay. So make sure that thing's counting like it should, so, I mean, but if we're still gonna have to have the machines there anyway, how is that really gonna save us anything if we're having to add more labor and we can't find people that wanna work the elections now? That's my understanding.
Well, we will have to, because of some of the legislation, we will still have to have at least one machine at each polling place for handicap. It's a federal regulation. Otherwise, everyone else will be using the paper ballots. We have done in the past something called LNA, logic and accuracy testing. The commission does that with the machines. And I will tell you that they hand us a stack of ballots, pre-printed ballots. We run them through the tabulator only, and then we check it. They tell us what the count should be, and we check it against the count. And it does not tell us, and it didn't prevent some major problems that we had with the voting machines themselves pulling up the wrong ballots for people on election day, we had 3 different, races where we almost had to have, a runoff because people were getting the wrong ballots. And LNA can't determine that. The other thing that the testing, the pre-testing can't determine, each machine has a computer in it. And a computer can be programmed to do one thing on one day. Because you know, computers keep time, your computer keeps time, your phone keeps time. And so what ends up happening is that, if you read any of the articles by the professors from Harvard and Princeton, what they did is they ran simulations where they just pre-programmed the voting machine on voting day only. So if you tested them the day before, everything would have been fine. But when that clock ticked over to the next day, that machine was programmed to flip a certain percentage of votes in a certain race. And you couldn't tell that, you couldn't verify it, because when the machine printed the ballots, it printed those votes. So like if you go back and you do a hand count of those ballots, the hand count of the votes is gonna match up with the tabulator, because that's what was printed. But it's not what the person voted, the machine flipped it after they voted. That's what they proved. And they said that that could be done as easy as if someone gets near the machine and just has a thumb drive and inserts a thumb drive in it and puts a program in. It can also, whether they're attached to the internet or not, because ours are not, then it can be programmed from a phone, because the computer will pick up that signal, the computer that's in them. I mean, I was skeptical, and I understand your skepticism. It has been proven to me beyond a shadow of a doubt by people who are experts in cybersecurity that these machines cannot be made secure.
That's right. I know it. I've been seeing this my whole life.
Anybody else?
I'd like to make a comment. I thought about this today. I have several points I'd like to bring out. I've received lots and lots of comments from all kinds of people about this issue, so I thought I'd just write these 3 points down to be succinct. First off, I'd like to point out the committee was a cross-section of the county, including a representative from both political parties. The fact they work together is pretty amazing. 2 election commissioners, 1 JP representing the Quorum Court, and 1 citizen volunteer. That is 6 people from this county which looked into this. This Quorum Court authorized this committee because this Quorum Court was not in a position to or willing to vote on a matter such as this, as greatly important as it was, without the facts. That's why that committee was put together. That's how legislation passes. That's how these things become law, when committees get together and they study the issue. And generally your legislative body takes the findings of the committee and they vote based on those findings. And so I give a lot of weight to this committee's report because they did the research we did not. And my hope is that the cross-section would make sure that there's no weighting of bias one way or another. That is the hope. The committee has recommended passage of an ordinance allowing citizens to vote with paper ballots. The town hall straw poll was 100% in favor of paper ballots. I don't believe I heard you mention that, but.
I was trying to stay within my time limit. I don't
Okay.
think I did anyway,
So
but I was trying to.
There was a town hall meeting. It was well attended, such as this Quorum Court meeting was well attended. The commissioners counted, they passed out a piece of paper and people voted. Paper ballots or no paper ballots. It was 100% in favor of paper ballots. I was struck by that. I found that to be pretty amazing. A very large majority of my contacts have been in favor of this initiative, and the committee report indicates the initial cost of voting with paper ballots will be very small and will save money in the long run. That's my first point. The second point is this. We came into this Quorum Court last month to debate the merit of Act 851, which I consider to be an abomination. Those legislators imposed upon all governing bodies within this state the will of the state over the will of the county and local government. And Act 851 says that you no longer have the right to impose in your community noise ordinances, and this is directly pertaining to crypto mining. And I think that that is an abomination. As a citizen, And so, right now, the state mandates to the counties that you no longer have that right to impose noise ordinances as I read it. So, I understand that the state legislators are not pleased with these initiatives that the counties are considering. I really don't understand why that is, to be straight up. But they are not pleased from what I'm hearing. And my feeling as a red blood, Southern citizen, I'll just leave it there. Because I kinda got that don't tread on me thing going on, which is, Revolutionary War stuff. But that's just how I feel about it. So, my point is that by passing our noise ordinance, Searcy County apparently violated the will of a majority of state legislators, and that's a fact, because they passed that law. But we did not, but we did so can't read my own writing, got myself going here. But the majority of this Quorum Court, all of us, disagreed with their position, and we passed our noise ordinance. Finally, should we pass this resolution, and it turns out to have not been the best decision, we can always revert to the current system because we still own our machines. And I would like to comment here that the commission not sell those machines. I gotta be straight up with you. I personally am on the fence about this issue. I do not believe that Searcy County in any way, shape, or form is of any interest to any large entity out there. They don't even know we exist. So I do not believe that any entity will seek to hack our machines. I just don't. But I will tell you something. This is the people of Searcy County saying to the larger body of government within our state and within this nation that we do not agree with the position that you mandate and tell us that we have to use machines. And really, when it comes down to it, what is the big deal? I want someone to tell me what is the big deal if we choose to go to papers. What is the big deal? I worked as a poll worker for years, my wife did. And I remember the years when we transitioned and we went from paper to ballots. We did both of them. And I didn't like paper ballots, and I love machine ballots. I'll tell you why, it's easy. You don't have to deal with spoiled ballots and all that stuff. But if the majority of this community wanted to stay with machines, I would vote yes to stay with machines. But based on turnout that I've seen everywhere, the town hall meetings, the calls I'm getting, Facebook, text messages, I gotta tell you that it appears to me that the majority of people are passionate about going to paper ballots. And so I think I might have indicated how I feel about this with my speech. But really, honestly, if you guys wanted to go to the other side, I would vote because I'm a representative of my district.
I would like to recognize Sherry Ragland. She is on this committee also, and she has.
I'm like, oh yes, they will.
Well, first of all, I appreciate everybody on the I will tell you, I was the odd man out.
Long time.
I'm totally against it for more than one thing. I'm not saying that eventually, maybe down the line, it might be a thing that we need. I don't think at this point in time, given the, condition of our county and some of the things that have gone, I don't think this is a good time for that. I hear a lot of conversation being had. First of all, that straw poll, it was 0.008%. There were 43 votes, 3 abstained, and 40 voted to go to paper. Less than 1% of the registered voters were the ones that voted to go to paper, okay? So, with that being said, also, Lori made the comment that, we would say 40,000, but we'll break even. We could break even. We're dealing with budget issues, with our anticipated things. Things are kind of rocky with some of the things. I have personally visited with some of my friends that are in the Quorum courts and things in Pope and Yale counties. You made the comment about Little Rock still does, I believe that's the city of Little Rock, not Pulaski County. Pulaski County is electronic. the city will do paper. But Pulaski County as a whole does electronic, okay? I know I had some more points, but, is there a risk for things to go wrong? There's a risk when you walk out your door. There's a risk with paper ballots. There's a risk with electronic ballots. That's just life. That's just one of the things. I will tell you, I'm not saying that in the future, I believe Sarah's for going back paper. But I can tell you right now, this county depends on AAC for everything. We would not exist as a county financially if it wasn't for AAC. They cover our legal fees, which we've had a lot of here lately. They cover our liability, our workers' comp, and several other things. They are totally against this county going paper.
Of course they are.
I don't think we are in a financial position to take and go against AAC. We depend on them way too much to go against their suggestions. And I'm not saying that that's right, and I'm not saying it's wrong. I just know we are very, very dependent on their guidance and their help right now. With that being said, I enjoyed working with all of them on the committee. We had very vocal opinions and stuff, but we all love each other, and it's all gonna work out. But the bottom line is, it was less than 1%. It was 0.008 of registered voters. 40 people voted to go paper. So that's a pretty big statement to me, and that's just my personal opinion. I know Polk County, my girlfriend there, she said, we can't afford to go to paper. And they have a lot more sources of revenue than Searcy County. Yale County, which I think is kind of along the same, size as Searcy County, they can't afford, and they still have, more sources of revenue than what we have. There has been, Lori had found some discrepancies where things have been double paid and things like that will save the county money, but at this point, we're looking at breaking even if our budget, if our anticipated is correct from what we thought it was, at the beginning of the year when we set budgets. It's just, right now, it's just not a good time for the county, and it may come down to it in the future to be readdressed. But at this point, I just don't think that it's feasible.
I appreciate your opinion, Sherry. We did have fun.
Yes.
We did have fun together.
I would like to comment on some things.
Okay.
The AAC, which is the Association of Arkansas Counties, is a wonderful umbrella organization which does provide many, many benefits to all 75 counties within the state of Arkansas. However, the stated position of the Association of Arkansas Counties is that they are neutral. That is the stated position. The delegate to the association, and I believe that's what I heard them say. However, the facts are, I don't think they hold that neutral position behind closed doors. And my feeling about this is that I don't like threats, and I don't like being threatened. And I don't think that that if there is in fact a hammer hanging over our head, that if we do something that organization or any organization states feels that we shouldn't do, and what we do is legal, that's not a good position to stand behind and say, we're not gonna do it because Little Rock doesn't want us to do it. But I'll say it again, AAC is a wonderful organization, and they do a great job for this county. I will tell you, I've heard them say they are neutral, they are not a lobbyist group as far as I understand it to be.
And yet they have said that if we go paper ballots, that they may withhold funding.
I can't
withhold
believe,
funding.
are we saying that publicly?
Well,
Because that is
they
not
have
their
said it.
mandate.
approve.
Their mandate is not to withhold funding from our county if we don't vote the way Louisville says we should vote.
I'm not sure that's the
And
stance.
I'm not debating you.
No, I understand, and I'm not sure that's the stance of everyone at AEC. I agree AEC is an important organization. However, you have to wonder, why are they pulling out those big guns with those kind of threats? I mean, really,
They don't
that's
run the
blackmail.
county anyway. They represent the county. We pay them for
No, we
legal
represent-
representation,
Yeah.
for general
But they are an
liability.
They
advocate
just get
group
to
is what
stand
they
up
are.
and talk
They
about
do
their
nice
money
things.
for getting
And yet there have been threats. And so the only question that I wanna ask is why? Why do they care how we cast our votes? What does it matter to them? I have done a deep dive into the numbers of this, and I'm telling you, we can afford to do it. And we will save money in the long run if we go to paper ballots.
I've got a couple of comments I wanna make. On the town hall votes, the mock voting, was definitely done with the people that were at the town hall. This is my position and my position only. We held the town hall for people to support or not to support the paper ballots. It was to give everybody the facts, there was no personal opinions, both sides were invited. If 50 people showed up and half of those people or 45 of those people voted yes, that is the majority of that group. We could not make people come to this town hall. We could only offer it to the community, whether they came or not, and voice their opinion was solely up to them. We only could go off of who showed up and who participated in that town hall. So, yes, those numbers may only represent, as Ms. Sherry said, a very small fraction of the voters that are registered to vote in this county. But we didn't knock on doors, we didn't drag anybody to the town hall. It was everybody's choice whether to be there or not, and that's just where that group stood. So I just wanna make that clear, is that this was in the paper, this was on Facebook, this was advertised to the best of our ability. And if I'm not mistaken, the Democratic and Republican Party even helped, they supported the ad in the paper. So again, there's the bipartisanship. And I would like to say one thing about the cost. I was the JP on the committee, and I knew very little. I was on the fence, and I knew very little about this whole process. But the more that I have learned by being on this committee and the research that we have done on ES&S, there is zero understanding, zero control of what they charge us. We may budget for $80,000 or $90,000 every 4 years for an election. They charge us what they want to charge us. We have zero control. They don't even tell us when they come up here, most of the time, what the charges are. We get an invoice and we're expected to pay it. I personally feel like with paper ballots, that is a controlled expense. We know what the paper's gonna cost, we know what we're gonna cost. The first year's gonna be a little sketchy, but it's ink and it's paper. It's a controlled cost. We do not have a controlled cost, I'm telling you, with ES&S. And that election could be 90,000 what we budgeted, and it could be 120,000, because every time they make an unannounced trip, guess what? The taxpayers foot that bill, $4,000 or $5,000. We don't even have to call them and ask them to come up here and do something for us. They do it, they bill us, and we pay for it. It's just that simple.
5,000 a trip.
Yeah.
$4,975.62.
And I wish I could show up at somebody's doorstep and just bill them and get that, but I can't. So, I'm just saying, personally, I feel like that the paper ballot is more of a controlled cost than what we currently have with the voting machines in ES&S. We know nothing about ES&S, you cannot find out who their board members are, you cannot find out who funds that. It is a very secretive organization. And if you don't believe me, go home and research it and let me know if you can find out any more than what we found out, because we hit a brick wall every single time we tried to find information out about them. It's not there. It's not public information. What's the secret?
I'm getting enough of that crap.
Yeah.
What's the secret?
It's this.
I'll try to talk loud enough where everybody can hear me.
Thank you.
One of the things that really gets me in dealing with ES&S, they're the ones, we have to use machines that they approve. We have to use everything, their thumb drives, everything that they approve. The state mandated we had to use ES&S. It's just like when they buy road graders, you buy trucks, you buy fuel, you get to take a bid on that. This is what really gripes me. We don't get to take a bid. And I said, we're the taxpayers, we're paying for this.
Right.
They charge us whatever they want to. And this, just like you said, you know, I'm gonna have to slightly disagree. She said we'd save 40,000, that's 40,000 as of today. You really think it's gonna be going down? I don't, because with the way the state is, they're the only ones we can use. The state has mandated it. Personally, I don't like being pushed into a corner, being told what we can and we cannot do without being able, we can't come to the Quorum Court with a budget. And I resent that. And there is a perception in this country that's dividing the state and even to a certain extent the county, a perception that those voting machines can be hacked. Can they or can they not? That's not my point. I don't want to dwell on that. Perception, reality, until proven different. I think that, once again, that's a major division. All I want to do is to see us go to paper ballots. I've worked both. I have done the paper, and I've worked the machines. Even if it takes a little bit longer and we just break even, which I don't think it will, I think we'll save some money. Isn't it worth it for the peace of mind to know that everybody's vote out there is going to be counted, and everybody that wins an election has won it honestly? How do you put a price on that, you all?
You
Can we
can't.
put a price?
Can't.
See, I'm not gonna go back and try to rehash numbers. The JPs, y'all are very capable. You're doing a very good job. I've sat back there where you all are for 6 years. It's not an easy task. It's never a task that any decision you make, somebody's not gonna be happy with it. I just think this is one thing that the people are wanting, not just us. And that's just all I can say. Ms. Gross gave you the numbers. You all have got it. It's your decision to do what you all think is the best. And I'll tell you, regardless of what decision that is, I'll still have a tremendous amount of respect for each and every one of you. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess my question is, and this my ignorance and being on the court.
Can't hear you.
Short amount of
Yeah,
time.
right. Hello,
Sorry.
loud.
Stand up and she can hear you. Seriously.
Actually, the gallery is not supposed to be interjecting themselves into the proceedings.
All I was gonna say is, I think this is an issue for the people to vote on. But if that's on our shoulders, then I'm ready to make a vote. But if not, I would really like for them to have that opportunity.
Take it in for a vote.
All comments they held to the end of the meeting. So that's what I wanted to say to the court.
I'd like to hear from Jason and Cindy and Mr. Hinkle or anybody else that wants.
Well, my question would be, how are we gonna address, poll workers? You know, we talk about, you know, we don't have enough. How many more poll workers is this gonna take? And how are we gonna address being able to get more poll workers if this is?
That's a good question, and we actually have more poll workers than we need. We've had 12 or 15 come forward when this whole thing started, saying, please put me on the list. We are not gonna have a problem with poll workers. People are just, because they feel like the county is finally saying, we wanna hear what you say, we wanna have safe elections, we wanna have secure elections, wanna have honest elections. And I think we have had honest elections in this county. I agree with Wayne. I don't think that anything's been hacked in this county. I will say that Professor Appel said the biggest risk with these voting machines is small elections like county elections. Cause it's easy to flip a few votes, like for a sheriff's race or a JP race. He specifically said that in his interview that I watched online. Right now, Jason, we are not having a problem with poll workers. We have plenty, and we have many people coming forward to volunteer. We don't need, if we go to paper, we don't need any more poll workers than we've ever needed.
Well, there's some other advantages when you, I was, election night, I was down at the community center and I saw a backlog of people, a line going out. Of course, we only had, two, maybe three machines going.
2 and 1 down.
Yeah, 2 and 1 down. And, it's very simple to have a booth that you can go in. It's, to mark your ballot. I think it'll go smoother, it'll go quicker. And also, as far as the poll workers, we had some issues with the poll workers list. Not being able to access it.
Rick, the city, I don't know if we can make it back in there or not.
We don't have all the answers. Anything new like this, not really new, anything different, we can work them out. But as far as saying that this is gonna go over fine and there's not gonna be any problems or anything like that, there's problems and hiccups with everything. But I think this is the way we should go. But again, ultimately, it's up to you all.
Okay.
Well, coming in here, fence makes motion, but right now, I think paper's the way to go.
I see both sides, the phone calls like Wayne and everybody has received, I want what the community wants, I want what the county wants, what the people want in this county.
Absolutely.
And I realize I've rocked some boats in my few months, but I think moving forward in paper is the way to go. And as Wayne pointed out, if we don't like it, if it don't work,
It's not written in
it's not written.
Right.
It's like anything, it can be changed.
Correct. That's machines will be there.
Exactly.
If ES&S don't do what they talked about and rule them that we
The fact
can't
that
use
they
it
can
anymore.
charge us like that is ridiculous.
Well, they can
I'd like
come,
to send them a bill.
they can come up at any time they want to and tell us those machines are obsolete.
And then you gotta buy new ones.
Well, it costs y'all at least $200,000. That's up to date. That's all we can do to say about. Cause I don't like, once again, giving anybody a blank checkbook to Searcy County.
No.
It's not right. What do you all think?
You're not
And that's what it is. It's our taxpayer money. That they have just got a blank check, and I've dealt with them, and almost $5,000 a time. They come in here on, 2 years ago on election, we didn't even ask them to come in. They wanted to charge us $5,000 a day. We didn't get that taken care of.
I got it refunded.
You don't even ask. They show, well, we need $4,900 plus, and that was what it was the last time. I guess that's one of my biggest complaints on this. We can't tell you. Anyway, I'm not gonna go back and rehash and reiterate. Y'all know the facts.
We have a procedural issue. Mr. Watts is not here, but secondly, we don't have a resolution in front of us, and
I have copies of the resolution.
so I think procedurally, we would have to, in order to, how do we approach this, Judge? Mr. Brown?
Just make a motion.
So can we review and vote on the resolution here, or will we have to suspend the rule that we have for the 3 working day notification?
Well, so, if you don't have anything that was part of the agenda, that's a little bit of roadblock for you. But if you got a resolution right now, you can pass that around. It's a major change to your county system, and I'm here to provide legal counsel to you. I'd really like to review these things before you do it, so that I can give you good legal advice. So I guess there's something that's passing right now, and I'll have to look at it right now.
So can we recess for 5 or 10 minutes while you read this.
I think, for me to give you an opinion, I need some time to look at this.
Then I move that we recess for 10 minutes until Mr. Brown has a chance to review this document.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Are they taking a recess? Yeah, they're not.
I move to suspend the rules that,
Yeah, make a motion.
yes, I'm making a motion, I'm moving that we suspend the rules to vote the rule which requires a 3-day notification of ordinances or resolutions coming to our home court meeting. I move to suspend those rules in order that we might read and take the vote this Searcy County resolution pertaining to the paper ballot issue. I said.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
So we have to vote, and is that a roll call vote, Mr. Brown?
You don't roll call vote on this?
If there were none opposed, I assume you can pass 7-0.
Probably doesn't.
That was to suspend the rules.
Yeah.
All this is just suspending the
Yeah.
rule to vote on this.
Second.
Per your ordinance,
For the ordinance.
you need to amend your, because it wasn't part of the agenda packet, that's the purpose for this.
Everybody's in favor, right?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
You don't want it?
The resolution now needs to be read.
I'm the reader, okay. Searcy County Resolution number 2023 dash, what is it?
What's the next resolution? 10?
2023-10, being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Searcy, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution requiring compliance with Arkansas Acts 743 and 3, is this the right one? 743 and 350, and a hand audit of all elections. Whereas there is often a lack of trust in our elections, whereas we as a society strive for accuracy, accountability, and transparency. Whereas this resolution is intended to increase voter participation and trust in the electoral process. Whereas this resolution is intended to ensure the accuracy and transparency of our electoral process. Whereas the resolution is intended to ensure the accuracy, transparency of our electoral process, as well as to increase trust and participation in our republic. Whereas voter intent is more accurately captured on a hand-marked ballot, which reduces the risk of incidences of error and fraud. Whereas the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, and Help America Vote Act, HAVA, require that accommodations be made for disabled voters to ensure their right to vote with the same privacy and independence as a non-disabled voter. Now therefore be it resolved that this county shall conduct elections on paper ballots pursuant to Arkansas Code 75301 and Arkansas Constitution Amendment 52. Be it further resolved that all votes must be cast on hand-marked paper ballots unless accommodations by voting machines are required to follow ADA and HAVA guidelines and Arkansas laws for disabled voters. Be it further resolved, all ballots shall be run through an electronic tabulator after polls close on election night pursuant to Arkansas Act 350 of 2023. Before any hand audit may begin, be it further resolved that a full hand-counted audit of all the races, measures, and referendums on all ballots must be conducted before final certification of all elections to ensure the accuracy of the results. And that last one was
Strike that paragraph.
Be
Be it further resolved that the county retains the right to sell any voting machines that are not needed or in use and apply the proceeds from the sale or lease of the equipment to supplement the cost of paper ballot purchases, ballot printing devices, and labor for audits. And be it finally resolved that the provisions of this resolution are severable, and if any should be held invalid, the remainder of this resolution shall stand.
I would like to note pertaining to this resolution that, I personally would not want to see the voting machine sold, at least until this first election cycle is going on.
I would second that.
All in favor on that?
Yeah.
Opposed? I make a motion to vote on the resolution.
So we would need to, we have Ms. Margot here, who's a parliamentarian also. I think we have to vote on the amending of this resolution, right, in order, would that be right?
Yes, you have to adopt the amendment to the resolution before you can vote on the resolution.
I knew you'd say that. I agree, but we have to. She's trained as well. So I think that we have to vote on amending this resolution. I move that we adopt this resolution so that it is amended to say that no equipment will be sold for the first 2 years after we adopt the resolution.
Second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Yes.
This is just for the amendment.
Opposed? Okay. You got a motion and second.
I'll make a motion that we adopt Searcy County Resolution 2023-10.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're gonna do a roll call
I'll
vote.
roll call vote.
Okay, do a roll call.
Roll call vote. Jim Hinkle,
In favor.
Danny Loggins,
No.
Michelle Means,
Yes.
Jason Ragan,
Yes.
Cindy Silent,
Yes.
So is that good?
Andy Tree,
No.
Rick Watts,
Yes.
Wayne Richard,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thought it was a firecracker going off.
Can I address this?
Yeah.
Ask a question, Mr. Brown. So we think that the next step in this will be to, then an ordinance will be crafted, and then we will vote on that ordinance?
So, yeah, what we need to do is we need to take this resolution and we need to, examine any existing ordinances that need to be affected by this or would be affected by this. We need to contact probably the state election commission, ask them for some guidance. You need to work on how we comply with the resolution that you just passed. So I will begin working on that. I imagine we can help the clerk's office as well.
So I think it should be noted that this is not statute at this point until the ordinance is voted on.
Yeah, so I anticipate, I mean, it's possible that I guess we come back, we found there are no ordinances in conflict that we need to amend, but I anticipate there's a need for some, passing of an ordinance. And so your procedure by state law is that you're required to, consider ordinances of a general nature on 3 distinct readings, okay? They're supposed to be read on 3 distinct,
We can move by
days.
2/3 majority to do.
You can dispense with that rule with a 2/3 majority to pass that and skip those steps if that's what you wanted to. And so, in the September meeting, I'll certainly endeavor to have something ready for you to consider.
So can we,
You need to understand, there's not a model ordinance out there that tells everyone how how to take paper ballots, so.
So in order
we're gonna have
to be
work on-
expeditious, because the election commissioners will need to have the green light to move forward, so I guess the question I'm asking, is this the green light for the commissioners to proceed forward with their training and their modeling of this next election cycle?
It certainly appears that you've got, you know, you've got 6 votes on your quorum court that wanna move in one direction, so as long as those votes hold, if there's an ordinance that needs to be prepared to clean everything up, it seems like that's the mood of the court, so. I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure you're complying legally, okay?
Yes, sir.
I'll help you out with that.
I need to recognize Jeff Cotton, please.
Okay, Jeff? To the court, I'd like permission to pursue development of a Searcy County government website where we can put out information to the county, where we don't rely on anyone else other than our own website to do those things. At this time, I'm not talking any calls, I'm just looking at pursuing it and possibly with in-house talent.
I make a motion that Clerk Cotton be authorized to proceed forward to develop a webpage which reflects puts the presence of Searcy County on the internet.
All in favor? Any opposed? Very good, I recognize, OHAC.
Yes, may I say also, excuse me, I
Yeah.
had a little bit of a problem there. I've been sick for a couple of weeks, and it all got to me there for a little bit, but I'm better. Had a great prayer meeting in the back. So thank God for that. Yes, we had talked and made a motion, and then it came up later than the resolution, I think it was. An appropriation, then voted down, for OHAC. I had proposed or asked for, myself and the director of OHAC had asked for funds, and then I didn't, know that it would even happen that way. I didn't know the appropriation could be changed, our minds could be changed. It's kinda nice to know, cause I'm sure I'll use that somewhere down the line myself sometime. But I'd like to bring it back up, cause I truly believe it's a group and an organization that is definitely part of our community, part of our color. The mission of that particular building, the people who run it is to uphold the heritage of the Ozarks. It took a tough hit during COVID. It's taken some tough hits. It's also been blessed recently. But it never has, to my knowledge, and some of you may be able to correct me on this, it never has, to my knowledge, been taken any funds from the county that I know of, which is a biggie in our county. But I'd just like to reintroduce, help me out into how I do this, but reintroduce OHAC. We have gone, I don't have my papers in front of me, they're back in that building, you have mine. We've gone since, we asked for $50,000 is what we asked for. We've gone since and got a bid, or Bill Ashley, who's here, and I will recognize him shortly also before you, for the equipment that's needed. But we'd like to open this up for discussion at least, and then I'd like to hear from those JPs that helped to strike that down as to what they're thinking. We can't meet on things, as far as to my knowledge, without forming some kind of a special committee to meet because of the Freedom of Information Act. So therefore, we'll meet here now and discuss this. So I'd like to open it up to you other members of the court, and also that Bill be able to be recognized to speak.
I recognize Mr. Bill to discuss with the Quorum Court the issues pertaining to the OHAC.
Bill, you wanna come on up?
Thank you. Want me to talk? Okay. Been through this before, and I don't know how much of the history we'll talk about, or just talk about the numbers.
Just talk about
It changed a little bit. We started off earlier. I had a project sheet, strategic planning sheet, estimate, $125,000 that we're gonna spend this year. We spent around 50,000 of it on the exterior, fascia and soffit, and different things. We still have probably 20,000 spent outside, parking lot lights, and things like that. But as I said before, our attention now is turning inside to the building. We have 30-year-old equipment in there, the canister lights, video system is completely out, and all that, and that's basically what, when he was referring to the 50,000, which kind of surprised me. I didn't think it'd be that much, but that's what we're talking about, the interior, basically the Kilbrook Theater part of it. We still have many more other things to do to try to get it back up in shape. Our current year projected budget right now is around 140,000, which, like I said, 50,000 of it is on this, AVL, they call it, audio, video, lighting, which all that stuff is, like I said, 30 years old. We're trying to get it back up into shape. When we do this, this will be the only facility like this in Searcy County, the only performing arts center. In fact, it's the only one in several counties around. You go to some of the schools that have to be performing arts centers. Clinton has one, Hampshire Harrison does, Fairville. But it's kind of unique. We've been told that from everybody all over the state. It's kind of a unique opportunity to keep that place going. And we are, as I've said earlier, Arkansas nonprofit corporation. We're incorporated, 501c3 and all that. So far, all of our funding has been private. The Killer Blues gave it after the workroom center was completed, left a $360,000 endowment, which went for about 17 years, I believe it was, or 14 years, 17 I believe it was, before that ended. The last 14 years we've been without any funding, basically just individuals keeping it going. We have one government grant, USDA rural grant, to do the heating average units around 2010 or 11. It was a 70-30 grant. We had to go out personally, some of the board members personally got a bank note to cover it for 30%, and that was paid back. So that's the only money that we've gotten from any source outside. Like I said, last time we've been given a trust gift, very generous trust gift that enabled us to start to work on it again. And we will get this done. If the county doesn't help, we'll try some grants to get some assistance, but we will get it done. And I appreciate any consideration y'all give. Be highly appreciated. This place, and I've always said it, this is for the community. I've had some not serious discussions, but some little disagreements with Chamber of Commerce. They're always trying to push tourism. I keep saying,
that place is not about the tourists, it's about the local people. You look at who goes to the events there. Friday night, we had a county fair pageant there. 95% of people there will be local people. When I say local, Searcy County and maybe some surrounding towns. And that's pretty much it. I appreciate anything that the county might be willing to help with. Some questions?
We're coming back to the court, hat in hand. And so, like I say, we've not been able to meet about this, but I'd like to hear as to why that it was turned down by two of the members.
I'll be proud to come back and let everybody know. I had time to think about, sitting here that night. I didn't vote no, but I didn't vote yes either. So when I came back, I just wanted to be on record saying, hey, I think that's too much. I don't have a problem with helping OHAC. I think it's a great thing. I've been to several events myself, but I just thought that was too much. And I missed the night where we gave $50,000 to the county fair. That was too much. So I don't have a problem with helping. I'm just thinking there's more places that we can help people in the community than just those two places. So that was my position on that. So I don't have a problem with some help go back.
I was the second person that voted no. I was in the same position as Mr. Tree. I didn't vote yes and I didn't vote no. But I still feel like, just like him, that there's other entities within the county. I would like to try to help as many of the good projects. I'm not opposed at all of helping, of giving, I'm not. But I did feel like if we give $50,000 to everybody that comes in here and asks it, we're gonna be upside down really, really quick and in the red. We're not a wealthy county. This is money, that is kind of ear tag per se. It's not to pay the light bill. It's not for general expenses. We've spent the bulk of it on, some COVID money we received from the government. We've spent the bulk of it on new radio systems. And I'm all about helping, every organization within this county that gives back, absolutely. I just felt like 50,000 was a lot because since then we've had other groups come and we've had 70,000 asked, or, I mean, it raises the bar, and we can't help that many different organizations if we're giving too much to one or two. It just makes it hard. So that's why I voted against it, not to help you, just I was not in favor of the 50,000. But I'm definitely on board to do something.
Any other comments, discussion? Bill, they're willing to do something. Can you throw out something, another amount, or you want?
Well, like I said, we're gonna spend somewhere around $140,000, we've already spent 50, so anything we can get will help. And what that will do, with the trust gift we have, yeah, we could use all that, and all that sort of speaking, or we can invest and have something for future years, and that's, you know, the more we can save out of that, the more we're gonna have for, down the road for covering, expenses on it.
What we did do, with the Humane Society, it went from $70,000 down to, well, we started with $100. I made a bid for 100, and then it went from 100 to 3,000, which was negotiated down to 2,500. So what we could do is I start the bidding at $100. Come on, guys.
Everyone else was okay with 50, what about 20?
20,000. Or $20.
20,000.
I will note that the ARP fund, there are some issues with that fund in that there are monies ear tagged, but because we have not drawn upon that fund, the countywide communication system was an extraordinary cost, upwards to $400,000. And I was talking with the judge last week, and we found out that there's a good not tons, but there's a good portion of money that hasn't been drawn out of that account to pay for that. So we're really not certain how much money there is in that account.
There's 2 or 3 different deals that we got drawn out yet.
So if we put something on the table for 20, I mean, that would still be pretty good, and we could move forward with that. I love the OHAC. I had to play music at that place with that old sound system, and it's terrible. So I'd love to see that thing.
And also, the video recording and stuff we're talking about putting in is, gonna be fantastic. And we've got what's it coming in next year, April, the
Eclipse.
Eclipse thing, supposedly NASA, they're gonna be streaming something down there for 2 or 3 days and all that, which we will have projecting equipment in to do that, and recording projection video equipment.
You wanted to do it, Wayne, I'm just kinda out of it.
Sure, I make a motion, I move that we appropriate $20,000 to the OHAC Community Center from the ARP fund, for the purpose of helping them highlight their music.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hold on, Ray, I have to ask you.
Yes.
You still need an appropriation.
Yes.
And it's an appropriation or it's in your packet at 50,000. So if you wanted to do this tonight,
We can amend it.
you could. You have a written appropriation.
Let's do it.
I make a motion that we amend appropriation ordinance 2023-30 to state the amount of aid, the grant, coming out of the grants and aid fund, from $50,000 to $20,000.
All in favor? Any opposed? Next, we got
You gotta either read it or you gotta have someone vote on it. Suspensively.
Appropriation ordinance 2023-30, being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Searcy, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled to amend the 2023 annual operating budget to establish Fund 3046, American Rescue Plan, ARP funds, and to appropriate funds and to allow the county judge to administer said appropriations. Whereas at the August Quorum Court meeting, it was voted unanimously to give OHAC, Ozark Heritage Arts Center, a one-time grant of $20,000. Therefore, the following appropriation is approved. Fund 3046, American Rescue Plan, Office 0116, Grants and Aid, Account 3103, Grants and Aid, amount $20,000. Whereas this ordinance herein enacted is an appropriation ordinance and therefore is effective immediately. I'll make a motion to approve the appropriation ordinance 2023-30 as amended.
Second.
all in favor? Any opposed? We got Leslie Phillips.
I need to grab my papers.
Leslie Phillips, who's got the-
Yeah, I'd like to, recognize Leota Halstead and Susan Wells with the Leslie Food Bank, Fishes and Wells.
background history of the food pantry, and then Susan's gonna give you some numbers on our operation. The Leslie Fishes and Loaves Food Pantry is sponsored by the Leslie United Methodist Church, who provides the building and the utilities that we use for the facility. We are open every Monday from 10:30 to 3 p.m. except for 12:30 to 3 p.m. Except for federal holidays that fall on Mondays. The majority of our families come from Leslie and Marshall, but we serve all of Searcy County, and we don't turn anybody away who come in for food. Families can come to the pantry once a month for food. We purchase the majority of our food from the food bank from North Central Arkansas, out of Mountain Home, Arkansas, and we we do that on a monthly basis. We do receive weekly donations from families in the community of eggs, produce, garden produce, sometimes canned goods, sometimes monetary donations. Presently, we have been receiving food donations from both the Leslie and the Marshall Dollar General Store. They have been giving us their soon-to-be outdated or overstocked items, which have been very helpful in providing food for the families in Searcy County. I'm going to turn this over to Susan. I'll let her give you some of the numbers of, expenses that we've had, numbers of families that we serve, and people that we serve. And
in a month, we have about 50 families that can come in. They can come once a month. Okay, about 50 families a month. There are about 120 people in those families. About 35 of them are children. We don't get as many children as we could because the school gives them food also. But we do help some of them, especially preschoolers. Even with the donations we've got, we spend about $17,000 a year on food. We get it cut rate from the food bank. And we're not going to ask you for any particular amount of money. We're going to let you decide how much you can afford.
Right, any amount would be greatly appreciated, and it can help to serve the needy families and hungry families in Searcy County.
Sandy?
I would like to say, they did not come to me. Leota's a neighbor of mine. Her husband and my husband work on projects, and her and I talk, we visit all the time. This is something that they've done for years out of their own pocket, their own generosity. And I know the church, the people at the church give more than they're telling us. They give, keep it open, keep the doors open. And the amount of families that they serve just between Leslie and Marshall, and including the children. And there's probably some children in the background that they're feeding, like the neighbor kids, and that aren't on that list. And I feel very passionate about food pantries, not just Leslie's, all of them in Searcy County.
Yeah, we did serve 20 families last Monday, and we served 18 families today,
So there we go. And I know that they take their own gas money and their own time and go pick up the food from Marshall.
Mountain
Home. So, I mean, they're very dedicated and very involved. And so I reached out to them and said, is there something we can do if we have a little bit of money that we can spend? And I don't know that we do, and I explained that to them. And it's gonna be based on our vote. And they are not asking for a particular amount like she said. I know when you make an order, you said around $1,000, and that's a month, roughly.
It runs, yeah.
Okay, but that doesn't include the.
Over 1,000.
But that doesn't include what you're getting donated from the outside.
No, that's just what we order from the food bank in Mountain Home, food bank in North Central Arkansas.
So I would like to help more than one food bank, but I know there's only one here tonight. And I know, Andy, about the fair, I get that, and I understand about OHAC, and I'm glad
glad that we were able to help that situation. We helped, you know, the dock girls. I just feel like feeding the county should be pretty much high up there on the priority list. So anything we can offer, I would like to see us try to give 2,500. But I also know that opens the door, and that means all the food pantries may want 2,500. So, and I don't really know how many are in the county.
There's one in Marshall, there's another one in Marshall at the Civic Center.
Okay.
And there's one in St. Joe.
Yes.
And I think that's all.
There's one in Morning Star.
Going, right out of Marshall, going toward Marshall.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So there's 6, probably. So, but that's my recommendation, that's my request. And I know I've asked a lot, so.
One of the challenges we're gonna have is the last Quorum Court meeting, we passed, I guess it wasn't a resolution or an ordinance, but it was an agreement that we would suspend spending from the ARP fund until we could get a handle on how much money was remaining in that fund. It's not close to being completed, but we don't know how much is in that fund. And the judge, we talked about that, we discussed that with the Quorum Court. $2,500 is nothing compared to the big lump sum that's in there. But that is something we have to consider. And we made an agreement last time we came together. I'd be willing to vote for this, but then the next month when we come to Quorum Court, you know.
I know, I've opened a couple of doors. Okay, I'll make a motion that we give Fishes and Loaves $2,500.
Second. But with the understanding that we really do gotta close the window from this Quorum Court on, you know, until we can get a handle on what's in that fund.
We overspend, we're in trouble.
Yes.
Okay, we got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The pass.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, we got the resolution purchase specialized equipment for road department. Judge, you got that, or this one? Yeah. We got enough for it, man. I let it. So I need to just read this and discuss it. Resolution number 2023-11. Whereas Searcy County, Arkansas recognizes the need to purchase specialized equipment to maintain the Searcy County roads. Whereas Searcy County wishes to purchase an asphalt zipper 420X reclaimer stabilizer and utility trencher. Whereas Searcy County, Arkansas will purchase for the road department. Therefore, be it resolved, Quorum Court, Searcy County, Arkansas, hereby authorizes the county judge to purchase this equipment.
I did look at the road fund. I think that your budget was for around $2 million this year, is that right? And I did look at receipts, and I wish the treasurer was here, but I'm saying that what I viewed, it looked to me like the road fund is above par. Above par meaning we're collecting more in receipts than we expected to collect.
We'll probably do it, payments 5 years. Instead of buying it all at once, we're probably paying it out in 5 years. So much is it? I didn't hear that part. 217,000.
It was 16,520.
And this, having lived on dirt roads for 30 years, this is a piece of equipment that will grind off those, after the graders come through, there's still always a dimple in the road, it'll grind that down.
You can go 3-4 inches deep, then take a roll back in. It makes the rocks in the gravel. It ain't fast, but it helps. Is there any rocks in the county, guys?
Good crop.
I know it's being the price that it is, this bid item.
Yeah, we will do that.
You'll have your bid with other companies besides this company here.
But I don't know, we'll have to try to bid it, but I don't know any other companies that's got this, so that's what you get into.
So if we approve a lease agreement, the lease agreement will be for equipment. I'm confused on that. It's because we had to do a bid, would this not be the cart before the horse then? I mean, I'm for this, I just wanna make sure that if you say we'll have to bid it, then we would be entering into a lease agreement without giving other.
If there's not no more people that makes this, then you have to.
Yeah, and then the part of the package is it's already gone through the bid process.
That's what I thought I remembered, that it's a group that puts that out, having looked at bids for this.
Yeah, it's part of the package, but it already goes through the, HGAC buy program. Well, I was trying to find, it's the buy program they have, where it's a competitive bid program where it's already been approved, all 50 states.
Process requirements have already been satisfied through a GAC by the nationwide bidding process.
Any more discussions? Motion?
I make a motion to approve the lease agreement entered into Cadence Equipment Finance, a division of Cadence Bank, is that right?
No, that's a different one.
Oh.
You're doing a lease, and this is a purchase.
Well, then you make the
I make a motion, we accept resolution 23-11. I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, next we got up is Sheriff.
Everyone's asking for money.
Welcome to the club.
You got it done. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with our generator situation. I know the county judge is. I wore his phone out in Thomas' house. But the generator that was installed in the jail, in 2018, it's a Department of Defense generator. Parts are non-existent. You just can't find them. No one seems to work on them, and so anyway, we finally ordered a switch where we could get ours to turn over, and it just went downhill from there. So the judge had one over on the backyard that we put in there for temporary power right now. When the power went out like 6 weeks ago, we were out 4 hours at the jail. We had 28 prisoners in there, the ones that works there. 911 system was down. We had to operate it on, we have a 911 cell phone that's used in circumstances like that. But our 911 coordinator, Gary Ragland, worked for 2 days getting all the system back up. So it's just critical that we have a dependable generator there that's gonna come on when the power goes out. And I'm sure the judge can attest to all this that I'm telling you. The ones that we have is just not dependable. It might be dependable tonight, and then if it tears up, you can't find parts for it because it is a Department of Defense product. So I have 3 bids, and I've called all the generator dealers that are on Arkansas's website. These are the only 3 that has gotten back to me. And I think all of y'all have one, and Chad, what's the amount before we have to take bids, like published bids? Is it 35?
50 on construction, 35 on equipment.
35 on the equipment.
Okay, so I guess we're good there. But, those other people hadn't had a chance to get their bid in either, but, it's really critical that we get a generator. So I guess I would ask the court what we need to do. Do we need to wait on these other bids, or?
You know how many more bids you have out?
Well, probably about 6. I called them, got a hold of 2 of them today, and they said, well, we'll have you one this afternoon. And that didn't
You're gonna
happen.
have it,
Yeah. And these generators are like, once you purchase one, they're gonna be like 9 to 10 months out also, lead time on them, so. That's ridiculous, but that's just the time we live in.
So which fund would you, would it be out of the, county jail, the fund 3498, would it be out of 3402, which is your jail maintenance fund, or 3400, which is the building fund?
Well, I would assume it'd be maintenance, but.
So it's 8,000, there's $8,600 in there. Before we came into the meeting, I took the liberty to look at the latest, numbers given by Mary Beth, and I showed, Mary Beth is not here, but I showed that the general fund is doing well. I'm showing that we're trending above trend line on that, and so 3498 is down, and so we would have to pull money out of the general fund in order to do this, is how I see it. What do you guys think?
What did I give you that had building and maintenance?
County jail.
The building fund, the maintenance.
3402.
3,400 has $180,000 in it, but is that for the county building maintenance? This isn't for the jail, is it? Is this for the jail, fund?
There's one of them for the jail there, I don't know which one you got.
Fund 3,400?
Should be 8,000, I believe, in there.
Here's the building maintenance fund, here is, I have,
That's what she gave me.
is that just the first?
Yeah.
I don't show 89,000 in my fund, I have a fund report, and it doesn't show that.
That's what we put that 10 or 15% back in.
Oh, I know what it is, okay, you're budgeted a certain amount, but the fund actually has 8,000, 9,000, okay. So we would pull out of that, it would come out of that fund. All I'm saying. So I think what this reads is that your budget, I'm thinking it's 8,600, and but the actual fund has about, what is it, 80,
Almost 90,000 in there.
almost 90,000, so we would pay out of that 3,402.
So the lowest bid is 26.
That bid doesn't include installation. They would have to hire Crawford Electric to install it, and Crawford would need to talk to him about installing someone else's generator. So, I mean, it's just a nightmare to try to find anyone to give you a price on anything almost.
And you need the generator, because when the lights go out in the jail, that's not a good thing.
That's not good.
Just makes the doors not open, they can't go nowhere.
And you don't wanna give them matches and candles.
No, you can't see anything what's going on in the back, and that worries the sheriff.
So this to me, I look at it as, it's not a you wanna have, it's you must have.
We gotta have it. And like I say, these old generators, when they're running, they're fine. The one we got rid of, it had 9,600 hours on it, so, I mean, they're not gonna run forever. So, this would be a propane generator, we'd set a separate propane tank, it would be an automatic, when the electricity went off, the transfer switch would start that generator, you wouldn't even know the power went off, that's the way it worked, you know that.
One is running there now, I don't think we've ever run it, so we really don't know nothing about it, so.
Yeah, it starts.
Yeah.
That's the best one,
Let me ask you this, on any of these, do any of these come with like warranty, so if you have problems for the first, say, 5 years?
And I don't think you're gonna get 5 years, maybe a year.
Well, this one, the high one shows a 10-year extended warranty possibility.
Yeah, that's maybe $164,000.
But it's probably like $64,000, it's true, but, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
So did you put in 6 total and we've got 3 of them, and you're waiting on 3, is that right, or are you waiting on 6?
Well, they said they would get me one, but now that's been a week since they said, but 2 of them this morning said they'd have one this afternoon, but I haven't gotten in.
But the $26,000 bid is without installation, so.
To me, that's,
So, the Crawford bid, they're the ones that did the electric in the jail, in the beginning, and it's the lowest by.
Does it have a maintenance contract with it too?
Does not. No, they started up, and when they leave, it's running, I think you.
What have y'all been doing for maintenance? I know this is.
Just changing oil in it and starting it like every month, yeah.
So this ain't just about lights though either, it's about running.
It's about our 911 system, yeah.
And that's important.
And, you know, if it happens on a 100-degree day, power goes out, 3 hours, we're gonna have to start thinking about moving 26 to 30 inmates to surrounding counties, you know, to get them out of there, you know, when you're looking at a, possible lawsuit kind of situation, means they're not kept out.
So this, refrigerator, it's not like in my house where I hook it up to the refrigerator and a light inside the house. This thing is like running everything, your air conditioning, everything.
Everything, this is a 60,000 watt, yeah.
you're 9 to 10 months out. from when you
That's what they
start
say,
bidding.
that's what they all say, unless it's a miracle happens with it. But that's after they get their check, I guess. Yeah.
What's the middle price? What do you recommend? Which one of these right now would you recommend?
Well, Crawford to me, I mean, I have no ties with them at all, but they did the work on the jail, previously. And, they're,
Low bids out, I mean, that's no
So
installation.
that includes installation.
right, they're in Mountain View, in Mountain Home, they could be here. And Harrison also, yeah.
Well, because the building maintenance fund does have money in it and it's set back for an emergency, or we've been accruing it, correct? Is that right, Michelle? Then, I mean, that money is there. What, I guess we have to make the decision is, do we want to chance that the power's never gonna go out in the county if we have an ice storm or something? Or do we wanna play it safe and go ahead and get you up and running with the generator? The money is there.
Yeah, and kind of my thought too, if he's waiting on 2 more bids, and it's not, we're 9 to 10 months out, we're not getting it in the next 2 weeks anyway.
We could
Is
set
it
a
gonna
cap,
hurt?
we could set a cap for him, like 35 or 40.
Yeah,
And then,
I'm okay with that.
and then,
They
you know,
come in
if you
above
can
that.
hit it within that cap, if you cannot, then you can, then
Were we going over that limit to where we have to ask for bids?
You're getting bids. You've got bids.
Yeah.
Like if the other 2 come in, I'm just saying, if they come in tomorrow.
Right.
And they're lower than this, and they're a reputable company, can we go with that if we
Okay.
appropriate
Or
the
they come
money,
in
or
at- or they come in-
50,000, they're off the board,
or
we
they
just
come
go
in
with
at,
proper.
or if they come in at 37,000, then you can just go with them. If
Right.
you set a cap.
Right. No, I think this is a great company, Crawford, I mean,
You've done all the work at the jail, I agree.
yeah.
They've been easy to work with on a couple of things, so.
Let's set a cap.
And then we can just wait for those,
Coming from that.
Well, this could actually be the
the cap.
cap.
Yeah, this could be. We could do 34, 35,000 actually.
Well, too. So
Yeah.
he'd have to, his budget would have to be amended to go above.
Sales tax, do we, that whole amount?
I think that's out the door price, bid total, it says.
It does say exclusions for gas propane installation, which you'll already have that done, or it's already there.
It's close, I'm sure we know someone that can do that.
What would the county do with the old generator?
The one he's got now?
Yeah.
It was actually bought with the community center that had never got hooked up.
Okay.
The one they had
And so I consider it a move.
Make a motion.
I will.
Yeah. I make a motion that, we wait for the other 2 to 3 come in, give them a week. If they don't come in, and you're good with Crawford Electric, then I make a motion that we accept the $33,945. I would like to put a cap at $35,000 if one of the others come in and you decide to go with them. But that's almost half the cost of the other generator, so I'm okay to support that way. And 5 working days, if you don't hear from them, then we move forward with Crawford and get the process going where they can get the generator and everything ordered, since it is gonna be some kind of a timeline. Winter's coming up and who knows what's gonna happen, we may not even have it till spring, who knows, but I mean, 9 or 10 months is a long haul, but we might get lucky and get it earlier too, so.
Sure.
I'd like to get the ball rolling.
Does that sound good with you, Jack? They need to vote on that, or is it?
Well, we need to vote on it.
Yeah.
The biggest question is if the money's appropriate where it needs to be.
So,
Or is it transferred or
so we're taking out a 3402,
Yeah.
but there'll have to be an appropriation, appropriation ordinance to spend that money next month, but we're moving to, let it go forward to purchase.
Yeah.
Spending ordinance. And the cap $35,000.
Yeah. Everybody's good with that, is everybody good with 35,000?
I second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank y'all so much, appreciate it.
Okay, we got a resolution. It's a lease agreement with trash compactor. It's just renewing the lease.
Yeah, it's not a resolution, it's really just a motion to approve the purchase.
Make a motion to approve lease agreement with the trash compactor truck.
All in favor? Anybody else have any?
I have 2 issues, and it is so late. I'm gonna request that Jordan Furman, is there a way that you, is he here, Jordan? Is there a way that we can put this off till next Quorum Court? Okay, then we'll do that. It has to do with the character back and survival flight subscription issue. But I do wanna bring this up because time is running out. We need to make a decision. The Quorum Court discussed this 2 or 3 Quorum Courts ago pertaining to the separating of the sheriff and collector's office in Searcy County. And, the sheriff, have you left, Sheriff? So, I did some research. I had my experts work with me today, which are technical. And it looks to me, am I wrong in the fact that if we separate the collector's office out from the sheriff's office, that you would still be in charge of fines and bonds? Is that true, collecting those?
No, that would go to the collector's office. I think.
Well, I've looked at that and I'm confused about that because some are saying that the fines and bonds would still be collected from the sheriff's office, but I've also read that the Quorum Court can determine that the collector's office, should that we choose to have that as a separate office, electable office, that we can, if we approve, that can be placed under the umbrella of the collector. Is that true?
I think those are really good questions. So, I'll tell you what I know that exists in other counties, which is that the collector collects taxes and the sheriff collects fines. But I also, it makes sense that the Quorum Court probably could be able to change that arrangement. And I've seen that other counties have different sharing responsibilities amongst the different elected officials, and so I think that's certainly possible. We could take a look at it, probably a good ALC question.
I did.
Where I would think.
I looked into it from several sources, and it appears to me, I think I'm right on this, but the Quorum Court can make that determination that the collector can collect the fines and bonds, because really the collector is, like you said, is in charge of collecting other revenues, but not that. And so that's the big question I have, because if it stayed in your office, then you'd still have to have an additional person to handle that. And so there wouldn't be much gain if we didn't move that out into the collectors.
Well, I mean, that people can make a bond at the sheriff's office. I mean, they can bond there.
I think it's the fines mostly what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
making the fines.
Yeah, we don't collect them there. I mean, they would be a collector.
Who does collect them?
Collector in district court.
So there we go.
So there's two separate entities that collect?
Well, there's the felony part, and then there's the misdemeanor part.
So that was the question, that's the only question I had. So I guess what we need to do is determine as a quorum board, do we wanna, I've been asked by several people to bring this to the meeting. Do we wanna vote to put this on the ballot, or do we wanna vote to ask the legislature to pass a bill? I'm not real sure if they pass that bill, if it would mean that the collector would be voted on in 26, or would it have to go to 4 years later, because I think that's voted on every 4 years. So, Mr. Brown, another question, what would be the process of the quorum court initiating this going onto the ballot to separate out the collector from the sheriff's position? And we've talked about it, and it doesn't look like it will be much additional cost to the county.
Like having the bar exam all over. I don't know the answer to your question, but they're really good questions. We're gonna have answers for them. So, again, what I've seen in practice is that it goes for the voters, but I think there is a procedure where you can have the legislature.
The legislature can pass a bill.
It might be something taken in the fiscal session, I'm not sure, but it'll be a good question, and I'll do some research.
So the fiscal session is the next session to come, right?
That's right.
And so that would be the question, if they can pass it in fiscal session, then we could let them do that, but if not, because of the time constraints, we might have to do that here in the quorum court, have it on the ballot as an initiative.
That's right, yeah.
And so.
Yeah, so if you put it on the ballot, refer it, it would be on in your 2024 generals, I think. I'm not sure if you could do it in a special election, I think it would have to be in the 2024 general.
So then
and then you would be
26 is when the
electing it, you then be placing someone in. I think you might be able to appoint someone to the position if the voters to fill out, since there's a 2-year gap, I think you might be able to appoint a person to fill that, and it'd be like any other appointment that you make, it'd be someone that would not be eligible to run. I think you can do that, because I think that's my memory, just of kind of what I've seen done before. Van Buren County split up their clerk's offices, it was about 10 years ago, but I kind of worked through that with them, and that's what happened there. We went to the voters, and then they appointed someone that filled that position until the next election came up. So that's kind of my memory that I'm working off of. If the legislature was able to do it in fiscal, then I suppose that could be up for the 2024 election. That would be a position that'd be just up for an election, open election. You would have the appointment issue.
So 26 would be the legislative session, right, is when they, so
well,
then.
if it has to be taken up in the general, not the fiscal.
So then that would mean 30 is possibly when the vote will take place, that's a long time off.
Yeah, possibly.
So, we've been through this twice now, what would you recommend then that we do to get this moving, because, time is passing and we need to think about what we need to do next, because several people have been asking about this.
I need to do my homework. So, yeah, I mean, I think you gotta, there's a bit of a policy question there, whether you wanna have the voters tell you that, or whether you wanna.
Should we move?
But that's a different thing.
Should we move to discuss and then maybe vote on having you look into this? Is that?
I mean, you don't have to vote to tell me to look something, I'll have answers for you, between now and September, and I can have something for you before that, if you'd like to, so I'll inquire, see what I can figure out.
Thank you. Anything else?